Hello, everyone. Welcome to 49ers After Dark. This is an instant reaction to the 49ers state of the franchise, which just wrapped up a few minutes ago. If you're watching it on YouTube, it already happened. Don't watch it on YouTube. Watch us because we'll tell you what happened and we'll save you a lot of time because there are 8,000 questions about the fans, the crowd. What's it like playing with fans? How excited are you to have a crowd back? They're excited. They're very happy. That's the cliff notes. We're going to get to the meat, the like 7 things you need to know about what happened. And there was some news, so we're going to take you through it. Jesse, thanks for staying up. It's way late. It's really Niners After Dark. Now, we were going to do this at 9 o'clock, but we realized that if you got the Niners app, you could watch it. So we're ready.
Absolutely. We're definitely ready. And it is Absolutely. After dark for sure.
Extra. Yeah. And if you notice, if you see a little bit more definition on my face, I got a new laptop, a new webcam. I'm very excited about it. Just want to say that. All right, let's move on. So this is my order of things that I noticed. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan spoke. And to me, what I was looking for is, are they going to be on the same page for the first time this offseason? And I got to say that they're still not on the same page. Here's how I read it. Tell me if you saw the same thing. The question was real innocuous. Is this team better than it was in 2019? That was the Super Bowl team. Lynch went first. And he was like, yes, it's deeper. It's more talented. Very confident answer, but also a controversial one. So then Kyle's next, and he goes, it has a chance to be better, but that would require a lot of young players who haven't proven it to step up and whatnot. I thought it was interesting that you had one guy saying, yes, this is better than the team that lost the Super Bowl, meaning we're going to win the Super Bowl if we stay healthy. And Kyle being like, I slightly disagree, but in a very polite, friendly way. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that it's funny because Lynch obviously is basically saying, hey, I've done my job. Like I can do no more. I've put the players on the field that need to be there. It's up to you to take this team and make it what I believe that it could be. And I think that this team is deeper and more talented than it was in 2019. I tend to disagree with that, but that's one of the things that I took away. And then here's the other thing, and I hate to keep bringing it back to Jimmy G, but I have to do this. Shanahan said 2 things that I know he was talking about the season in 2019 and how they can also be better the season of 2020 and then how they need to be better in 2021. But it sure is something that you can apply to Jimmy G. He said one thing, last year was frustrating. Well, Jimmy G was pretty frustrating last year. And then he also said, we have some vets that can be better. Who's he speaking about? I don't know. I'm not saying it's Jimmy in particular, but
hey, no. Let's be honest. How about George Kittle?
Yep.
How about Raheem Mostert?
Yep.
How about Deebo Samuel?
Yep.
That's a good start.
How about Trent Williams can be a better leader?
There you go. So yeah, it's not just Jimmy Garoppolo. I have more takeaways. The fact that John is more willing to take the leap of faith and say this is a better team, I think that indicates that he's under more pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if this team isn't good, he may not have a future. He can't even fathom a team where this team doesn't rise to expectations. But Kyle, I don't think he's under as much pressure, so he can be more analytical. He can be more distant and be like, well, I mean, John did the best he could, but I'm not guaranteeing anything. I mean, got a lot of young guys, a lot of guys who need to step up. I think it indicates that John's under more pressure than Kyle, which is what we've kind of guessed. Like if this season went sideways again and they had a bunch of injuries and didn't win, Kyle's not getting fired, but John might.
Yep. And he actually said it in an indirect way. And this, by the way, is not the first time he said it. He said, so earlier in the offseason, he talked about when he took the job, how there's a lot of pressure to be a winning organization. And then he said it again tonight. He said, hey, I know there's a lot of pressure. We have to win. But that's what I like about being the leader of this team is that there is pressure, but it's all good pressure. But I know there's pressure. So
you know who has to win?
Yeah, he feels it.
John.
Yeah.
I don't think Kyle has to win.
I don't either.
I don't. I mean, I'd like to put Kyle on that hot seat, but let's be honest here. Jed's not going to fire him. He's not going to fire Kyle Shanahan anytime soon. He could fire John. And the more that Kyle Shanahan kind of undercuts him or says something different might make someone who's very into Kyle Shanahan feel like maybe this relationship isn't working. I don't mean to get negative right off the bat, but the fact that they still can't get their story straight really kills me. It's like Kyle listens to John say something. He's like, ooh, I'm going to disagree with him on the record right now. It's like, thanks. And he always has John go first.
Yeah, he always does. Yes, absolutely.
So
smart. He plays it very smart.
He's very, very smart. Swan Song says, here's $10 to help keep Grant's laptop off the injured list. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll put this to the laptop fund. Okay, so that was my one little spicy take. But the rest of this, well, the next couple are very, very positive.
Can I say, I can't get over how clear you look with this new webcam. It's ridiculous.
It's only 1080p, I guess. Whatever I was working with before was whack.
Yeah, it's amazing. I didn't think the other one was bad. I think this one looks really good.
4K. It's not 4K. All the 4Ks were sold out. I guess people doing freaky stuff with that 4K. But anyway, what I'm trying to say about Fred Warner is I love listening to Fred Warner talk. It's like listening to Robert Saleh. He's gone, and this is the closest we'll have. He's really studied the kind of substance that Saleh gives and just the way he talks. Anyway, was asked, what's the state of the defense? And Warner went really into specifics. He said, first, we're going to be scary, which is a funny thing. It's a fun thing to hear a leader say about his defense. And then he went into specifics about DeMeco Ryans. This is definitely the biggest question about the defense. DeMeco. And he vouched for DeMeco the way that Richard Sherman used to vouch for Robert Saleh. He's like, look, I didn't even think about it, but he's like, he's been with me every step of the way. He was quality control in 17, got promoted to linebacker coach in 18. That's the year Fred Warner came in. Mm-hmm. What Fred Warner's saying, hey, look at my rise. That's DeMeco. I mean, this guy is really good. And people have been saying this about him, but they're like, he's going to be a head coach soon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're really not being shy about the praise they're giving this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he is going to be a head coach. He'll be a head coach. We'll lose him before we lose McDaniel. Because just listening to him talk, and we talked about this after their press conference, is that he is a lot more polished right now than what Saleh was when he took over in 2017.
Yeah.
And I think that goes two ways. I don't think it's just he's a more polished speaker, which he definitely is. That's clear. But I think he's a more polished coach. And a lot of that has to do with being a player very, very recently. Mm-hmm. But having a leader like Fred Warner definitely helps. And you're right. That's a great takeaway because Sherman definitely was on the Saleh train, always pumping him up. He's the best. He's the greatest. He's the best. Well, Saleh's gone. Sherman's gone. Insert Ryans. Here's the leader, the new leader, for sure the leader of our defense, and Fred Warner. And we saw him take that torch last year, but now Sherman's nowhere to be found. So it's definitely Warner, and he's all in on DeMeco Ryans.
Yes, certainly. All in on DeMeco Ryans, and when he speaks, gives you so much confidence. I mean, I think Richard Sherman had the same effect with Robert Saleh. Like, people were skeptical when Richard Sherman kept repeating it. It's like, well, if Richard Sherman says it, it's got to be true. It's got to be true.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else I want to say about this? What was one more point I wanted to make about Fred Warner and DeMeco Ryans, but it escapes me. Oh, well, hold on. Kate Lombardi says, are we going to talk about how Trey was in none of the shots? He was in some of the shots.
He was not in the, I was actually going to talk about this, not when they did the jersey reveal at the end of that. Now, pictures that they posted, he's been in, but when they did the actual shots of the team and they were holding the crystal football, it was a lot of Jimmy G. I don't take anything from it.
He's like the male model for the team. It's like, hey, we got to take some pictures, Jimmy. We need you. And they also got Jerry Rice. Pictures of Jimmy Garoppolo and Jerry Rice. Who looked older in that picture than you? Jimmy had more gray.
Jerry Rice looks good, man.
He does. The one thing I wanted to say about Fred Warner before we wrapped it up was Richard Sherman and Robert Saleh went back to Seattle. So they had history. Yeah. Again, Warner and Ryans have history. 4 years now. Yeah. So it's interesting in this. Fred Warner might just be able to get him a head coaching job. I kind of think of Ryans as he's got a lot in common with Saleh, but I think of him a little bit like Vrabel, a former linebacker who was very good, respected as a player and as a leader, and then just like skyrocketed through the coaching ranks.
Yeah.
Could be DeMeco.
Absolutely. Another thing that Fred Warner said that I want to hit on is that he talked about how the 49ers defense will be similar, but it will have a twist to it. And that the work that they're putting in is a sight to see, and that they feel like they are underdogs with something to prove this year on that defense.
That's right. So that's interesting. All right, more Fred Warner. Okay, let's take a step back. Fred Warner said interesting things at the 49ers State of the Franchise.
Yeah.
But what's more significant is that Fred Warner participated in the 49ers State of the Franchise without a contract extension.
Yeah.
A lot of times things get kind of acrimonious between the sides before the deal gets done. I mean, this guy hasn't been set for life yet. He's still waiting to get that big payday, and he doesn't seem to be sweating it.
No, he didn't seem to be sweating it when they had OTAs, and he doesn't seem to be sweating it now. He knows he's going to get a deal. There's ongoing negotiations at the very least. A deal will get struck before the season starts. I don't think he's worried about it. I think he knows that team's going to take care of him. And I mean, it's a quiet confidence. He knows exactly what he brings to the 49ers, and that without him, that defense doesn't run. Especially now with DeMeco Ryans in place, being a former linebacker himself, that he knows how important Fred Warner is. And I think that franchise has shown him all the love that he needs. And so that quiet confidence is definitely there. And he knows this is a long-term thing. I'm not going to be petty and not show up to these things because I don't have a deal right now today. We'll get one in place.
Yeah, it's not like I was thinking there was like he's either going to get it this year or maybe he'll just leave. Like he'll play out his rookie contract and the Niners won't give him the contract he wants and he'll just leave. But he's really taken ownership of this team in ways that no one else has. I mean, he's seized the team. It's his team, not Nick Bosa's. Absolutely. It's not George Kittle's. It's Fred Warner's team. It's very interesting how he's done it. And it makes you feel like he'll sign eventually. Maybe they've told him like, look, we got to wait till we do something with Jimmy first. There must be something they've told him that gives him reassurance. For sure. Yeah, there's something there for sure. It was interesting, and he didn't mean to do it, but he didn't even mention when he was talking about the defense and how great it was going to be. He didn't even mention Bosa. Kittle's like, hey, man, you forgot Nick Bosa. He's pretty good. Good point. That's a good point. Yeah. Hey, well, George Kittle ended up forgetting the quarterbacks. Let's talk about that. No one mentioned the quarterbacks in the entire show. Not a single person. Why? I mean, like Greg Papa asked George Kittle to talk about the state of the offense, and he was just like Trent Williams. He went through every single player and just conveniently forgot about quarterbacks. No one talked about Jimmy Garoppolo. No one said the words Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance the entire time. Hold on. Let's just say, first of all, that wasn't by mistake. That was planned. Okay. Of course. No questions, no mentions. How do you interpret it? I just think that nobody wants to talk about it because it is going to be a full-on competition. And whoever wins the competition, as a franchise, they would like to think that they don't know who that is, which technically until we see Lance perform, we can't give him the job. But the fact that they're not talking about any of the quarterbacks tells you that there's a full-blown competition coming up. And we're about to see what Jimmy's really made of. We're about to see what Trey's made of right now this early in his career. But you're right. He talked about everybody. He talked about Ayuk. He talked about the running back room. He talked about the tight end room. He talked about the offensive lines. He literally talked about every single position, but did not mention the quarterback. He talked about Bosa. Yeah. But not the quarterback of the team. Right. So I think it's a lot of things going on here. One, the organization's like, let's not go on. But other thing is, how many guys like Kittle and Juszczyk have kind of gotten themselves burned by going out there and saying things about quarterbacks? Like, yeah, Jimmy looks great, or we believe in Jimmy. Like, oops, pull the rug out from underneath you on that one, Yeah, absolutely. And it's true. You know what? We'll just not say anything from now on. Juice came out, what was it, early in the offseason? He's like, Jimmy's our quarterback. Doesn't matter who we take. And then it was like, well, I mean, why all this speculation that we're trying to move on? because you are trying to move on.
Right. Absolutely. He said, this new camera is just, it's too much.
Like it's a fisheye lens, like Bad Boy style. So yeah, no one mentioned the quarterbacks. It was like, maybe if we just don't say their names, no one will notice it. Maybe we just keep asking questions about the crowd. This is what gets me about these state of the franchise things. Like, I appreciate them giving us something to talk about in June when there's absolutely nothing going on, but it's like, it's propaganda. Could we please get a real question? One.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's not a press conference. It's state of the franchise. And the state of the franchise is very strong because the fans are back. I think that's what I learned is the main problem last year was there weren't enough fans.
Absolutely.
Seth says when George talked about his broken foot, it almost felt like he was low-key blaming Jimmy. Just what I thought. No, that was Mullins was playing when he broke his foot. Am I wrong? No, it was Mullins was playing. But maybe, you just have to blame Jimmy for it anyway. Bad juju.
Well, he got his knee strung out from Jimmy. That didn't help things. But he that was a couple things he did talk about. So one, he did say that Trent is inspired and wants to win a Super Bowl. So that's good. We talked about winning and wanting to be a leader. So that's good. I'm glad
they just made him the highest paid offensive lineman of all time. Being inspired is good. I like that. But
he also talked about walking on these steel poles that he has and how it's strengthened his ankles and his knees. And that's what he's putting, his ankles and his feet. And that's what he's put a lot of focus in, is strengthening those parts of his body because he feels like they have been weak areas for him. Well, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but that's good. He knows what he's doing. He's definitely got the right people in place to train him, it sounds like.
It just seems like with this quarterback thing, like there's nothing they can say. What do you say? How's Trey looking? Good. Well, what does that mean about Jimmy? How's Jimmy looking? Good. Well, what does that mean about Trey?
There's a no-win. There's a no-win for him. It really is. And even when they don't say anything, they still got us speculating about it. So there really is a no-win for him.
But just the idea of doing a state of a franchise event and not mentioning the quarterback position once is rich. It's almost ambitious, and I applaud the fact that they tried to pull it off. Some people might not have even noticed.
They didn't say. Nothing, not even a name. When he talked about the the running back room, he even mentioned Jeff Wilson, who's missing half the season.
Yes.
But he didn't mention Jimmy or Trey. That's a little interesting, to say the least.
Gotta love the state of the franchise event. All right. But they did break some news. They did some things. They inducted Patrick Willis into the 49ers Hall of Fame, which my reaction was, he wasn't in the 49ers Hall of Fame already? What?
Yeah, why?
They should have retired his number. No one should ever wear 52 ever again. I don't know if people do. I don't think they do. His number should be in the Ring of Honor. He should be he's arguably the best. Whoever the best linebacker of all time is, I'll put Patrick Willis up against him. Pete Willis. He didn't have the longevity, but
from a skill set standpoint, absolutely. The thing that I remember a lot about Willis, not only Willis, but Bowman, is the Bears were always known for these great linebackers. And I have a friend that's a Bears fan. And I remember going to him after a couple seasons of those two and saying, our linebackers look like your linebackers. They are Bears linebackers in 49er uniforms. Like, they're big, they're strong, they're fast. Patrick Willis, 174 combined tackles his rookie year. Are you kidding me? Guy's absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. And yeah, I'm happy to see it. They'll also, so Bryant Young was inducted last year, but they'll actually be able to unveil it this year as well, which was pretty cool to see. I love Bryant Young.
Should we give just a little statistical rundown of some of the accomplishments Patrick Willis knocked out?
Let's do it.
174 tackles his rookie year, 950 tackles for his career. He was Pro Bowl every single year of his career except for the last year where he only played 6 games.
Yeah.
He was All-Pro 5 times.
5 times.
He's not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he should be. They say, well, he didn't have the longevity. He'll be there. Like, he'll be a 3rd or 4th ballot guy. Well, Calvin Johnson didn't have the longevity. It's just because he's a West Coast guy and didn't get – if he had played for the Baltimore Ravens or the
Cowboys,
New York Jets or the Dallas Cowboys, he would be known as the best linebacker of all time. He still probably was the best. He was more athletic than Ray Lewis.
Yeah. Oh,
faster,
yeah.
hit just as
Absolutely.
hard.
Yeah.
He was better than Ray Lewis. And I don't know what else you can say about Patrick Willis other than that.
Yeah, you take his top 5 years and put him up against or Ray Lewis's top 5 years, and I've got to imagine that they're better statistic seasons than what Ray Lewis did. Ray Lewis was just such a leader, though. I mean, I remember I would watch just Ray Lewis videos and get so inspired from this guy. It was absolutely insane. And I mean, people completely forget that he's possibly a murderer.
Possibly,
allegedly. That's how good he was. Yeah, allegedly. That's how good he was, right? Like, people can forget completely about that when it comes to him. The other thing, too, when comparing him to Ray Lewis is Ray Lewis, and I get it's a full team effort, but Ray Lewis at an advanced age with a torn pec or whatever he had was able to beat the San Francisco 49ers and Patrick Willis. And I thought that was going to be, hey, here's the passing of the torch. And then unfortunately we only got 2 more years of Willis and he was out too. So
it was interesting how he walked away from the game. It was very Barry Sanders-ish.
Yeah.
Just like probably the most gifted player at his position of all time. Right when they hit 29, they felt like their athleticism was starting to slip a little bit. And they were like, you know what? I don't want to put subpar tape out there. I just don't.
No.
I don't want to do it. And I respect it. It's
like, you think about him.
They saw excellence when they watched the tape, and they just couldn't bear to see anything less than that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you look at him, you look at Barry, you look at Jim Brown, Calvin Johnson. I mean, guys that were athletic freaks compared to, and even Randy Moss. I mean, really after 32, he was a shell of himself. So a lot of these guys really rely on athleticism, and as instinctual as he was, like I look at Fred Warner and I say Fred Warner could play till he's 35, right? Barring some major injury, but he's not the athletic freak that Patrick Willis was. He didn't rely on his doesn't rely on his athleticism the same way. Patrick Willis was an instinctual player, but the athleticism was through the roof. And once that starts to go, you got to be done, you know? So
Willis was like Bobby Wagner, but better.
Oh yeah.
He's like Bobby Wagner, but better.
Yeah, I would take Patrick Willis over Bobby Wagner, and that's yes.
I would take Patrick Willis over Fred Warner too, and I really like.
I take him over Luke Kuechly as well.
Absolutely, he hit so hard. He ran so fast. Mm-hmm. He was just so good. He didn't have this like big personality. He was actually very quiet, but he was vicious, and he made other players better. I like NaVorro Bowman. He was a very good player, but playing next to Patrick Willis really helped NaVorro Bowman. It took a guy who was an excellent player and made him look like a Hall of Famer. That's the way I think of NaVorro Bowman. Not to take anything away from NaVorro, although I just did. But I'm just saying, Patrick Willis did make other players better. He really made NaVorro Bowman look. I mean, some people think that Bowman was better than Willis. He wasn't.
No.
He was not.
No.
But that's how good Willis was.
No. Yeah, Willis was unbelievable. And even we remember Borland, who retired after his rookie year, but look at how much he flashed. And you don't think that that's a direct correlation to being around Patrick Willis? I mean, he wasn't near that player in college that he showed that he could have been had he had an actual career with the 49ers. So, yeah.
Matt H says, why do Niner fans make such a big deal about Jimmy's lack of social media presence? You don't have to post an IG video to prove you're working out. Maybe I'm old. That's a good point. That's a good point.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But
yeah.
Okay. So by the way, if you ever write any articles, don't say anything bad about the supposed starting quarterback, because it'll turn into a 72-hour fest of just going back and forth with people. I've completely shut off my Twitter, basically, other than a post or two. And I pull up every time I leave Twitter for 30 minutes, I've got 40 messages on this post that of the article I wrote. But anyways, with that being said, here's what I'll say about Jimmy. And this is my biggest argument when people are like, well, he's still going to start. You know, Trey working out with these players in the offseason, that means nothing. It does mean something. You go find me one backup quarterback that has worked with all the starting receiving weapons on a team when the starting quarterback hasn't done so himself. Find me one, and I'll stop with the whole Lance starting week 1 train. I don't believe it exists. Now, I've heard of quarterbacks working with these guys, but it was almost as a secondary once they were done working with the starting quarterback. I have never seen it in an offseason where the starter does no work with these guys individually and the backup's doing all the work. It doesn't exist. Trey Lance is starting week 1.
Yeah, and the thing about Jimmy's social media presence, it's the contrast with Lance. You got a quarterback competition. You got one guy who's clearly doing everything in his power to win the job.
Yep.
He's showing the fans what he's doing. He's working out with the starting receivers. He's like really not leaving this up to chance. And then you have the other guy in radio silence.
Yeah.
It's like, well, he might be doing what he needs to do, but we don't know. And it doesn't seem like he wants us to know. And the one time we see anything from him, he's at a wedding, which he's entitled to go to. But it's
sure, absolutely.
It's like, yo, can't we? I don't know. I don't know. I guess we're making too much out of it, but it's just a stark contrast between him and Trey Lance. This is all I can say.
I don't need the social media presence. I do not need that, but I want to hear something. And I'm not a big Instagram guy, so I don't know what Trey's posting on his Instagram. But what I can say as far as Twitter comes, the reason that there's footage out there of Trey is because everybody else is posting footage of Trey Lance. If Jimmy's working with these guys, it's not going to go unheard. We're going to see some sort of clip, or we're going to hear some sort of inside information that he's working out with these guys. He's just not doing it. Doesn't mean he's not working. He's just not working with teammates.
True. Most of the players gravitate to Trey on and off the field. Jimmy, you're not that guy, pal. I think that I actually was in the locker room. They all gravitated to Jimmy. He came from New England. He doesn't big time you. He's kind of like he seemed like the kind of guy who was in frat. He's just very one of the guys. I like Jimmy.
Yeah,
he's like the kid. It's like you can't help but like him. But I get the feeling also that he's distant. They kind of mention like, hey, it's hard to get in touch with them and
doesn't return text.
If he's distant and he doesn't return to the field and maybe players are starting to feel like, well, at least Trey wants to be here. At least Trey is trying to play me on Madden.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah. And again, it's going back to Jimmy. People think it's like, oh, Jimmy's a good guy, and it's a personal attack. That how dare you say anything bad about him? And listen. If Jimmy's starting week 1, I'm rooting for him, just like I will Trey. And as a person, I think Jimmy's a fine person. He's handled himself again better than anybody probably could have in this situation. But I just don't think he wants to be here, and I don't think he cares if he's the starter. That's just the feeling I get from him.
I get the same feeling too. I don't think he wants to be here. Period. If he wanted to be here, he would have made it his business to play those last 2 games. He would have said something like, I want to be out there with my teammates. I don't care if I'm 50%. I got to be out there. Kittle's going to go. Jimmy Ward's going to go. That never happened. So, anyway,
and I'll say it again. He wasn't even wearing Niners gear. What does that tell you? That to me, that says something.
Players think about that thing. Like, one last thing, and we'll move on. Toward the end with Kevin Durant on the Warriors, I was covering that season when I was with the Press Democrat. He was very angry the whole year, right? And he was making it known that he was going to leave by kind of pouting his way out. And I remember he would wear not a Warriors hat to press conferences, but a black hat with a number 7 on it. And I didn't know what it meant. No one knew what it meant. It was a Nets hat, essentially, with his new number and the Nets color. And what he was saying was, I'm out. I already know where I'm going. And it was code, and we didn't know. So people think about their sartorial choices.
Well, Kawhi Leonard is getting ripped because he was sitting in the press box instead of sitting with his team once he hurt his knee. And
he did the same thing.
Jimmy's doing the same thing, which I get. I mean, Kittle was up there too, but Kittle's wearing a 49ers hat and a 49ers, long sleeve shirt or whatever.
And he's talking in the 49ers state of the franchise, Jimmy.
Nothing.
Usually the quarterback would talk. Like if this was 1996 and they had a state of the franchise, Steve Young would have talked.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to mention Steve Young in this video. Guys, don't talk about Steve Young.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We didn't tell him it was going to be. We're just going to go with no. All right, let's move on. Another 49ers player was inducted in the Hall of Fame. John Taylor, who not the 49. Hold on, let me start this again. The 49ers, hold on, 3, 2. The 49ers inducted another 49ers legend into the 49ers Hall of Fame, wide receiver John Taylor, Super Bowl champion. I'm surprised he wasn't in the 49ers Hall of Fame before now. He would, I would think, be in the 49ers pantheon of all-time great players.
Of course.
Probably one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time. What are your memories of John Taylor?
I mean, John Taylor was that dude. I mean, he was the main running mate for Jerry Rice all those years. He played from 87 to 95. I mean, the meat of what I remember of the glory years for the 49ers, he was a part of that. And he was putting up multiple 1,000-yard seasons alongside Jerry Rice. He was extremely quiet, didn't care about any of the attention, was just a solid football player. I mean, exactly everything that you could want from a number 2 receiver, he was exactly that. So, yeah, just the consummate pro and best wide receiver tandem ever. I can think of some probably better ones, but he was really good. He was
maybe
really
not
good.
though, because this one had Jerry Rice in it. John Taylor,
exactly.
John Taylor probably could have been a number 1 wide receiver on a lot of teams.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But he was the number 2 on this team with Jerry Rice. Let's give him this list his stats real quick. He became a full-time starter in 89, his 3rd year, put up 60 catches, 1,077 yards and 10 touchdowns, averaged 18 yards per catch. For his career, averaged 16 yards per catch. And the Niners didn't really throw the ball down the field a lot. This was a guy getting yards after the catch, scored 43 touchdowns, was also a returner, returned punts, returned 2 for touchdowns.
He made a Pro Bowl as a returner.
Yes, apparently he was a 2-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and he's in the Hall of Fame for the all 1980s team.
Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, he was a fantastic player, but getting back to the best ever, I mean, I don't know. There was a couple guys that played for the Colts that were pretty dang good. That tandem over there, Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, but
also Jerry Rice and T.O. was a good tandem. T.O., yeah. I've talked a lot about him recently. When he was young and he was the number 2 receiver and Jerry Rice was the alpha male in that room, T.O. was great, dude. Yeah, T.O. was freaking great. Yeah, my issue with T.O. is when Jerry left and he went from being Terrell Owens to T.O. I mean, it's been documented a million times, but T.O. was freaking amazing. And I saw a video a couple of nights ago of him going to some high school or something and going one-on-one against a kid and just torching him. Like, I'm not surprised at all. T.O. is a great athlete, a great athlete. No
He's
doubt.
still in phenomenal shape. I mean, he really is. It's funny because Jerry Rice was the hardest working receiver this day, but everything that you hear about T.O., he was the exact same way. And T.O.'s body really shows it. Rice's body, it never really showed the work ethic that he truly had. But T.O. is like all of that work into one sculpture. Like he's an absolute athletic freak. It's crazy.
He might be like, until AJ Brown's kind of built like him, but the most built wide receiver I've ever seen. I mean, I was watching the clips of him in the Dallas game where he would catch the touchdowns and then go spike it. He was so big. I mean, even Calvin Johnson didn't seem that yoked is the phrase I use. Yeah. Sean says, doesn't John Taylor still hold the record with 2 90-yard touchdownt in the same game against the Rams?
Yes,
on Monday night, 89.
Yes.
That's part of his legacy too. Great player, number 82. They didn't retire his jersey. Maybe a little controversial, but they gave it to Ross Dwelly, who I think is doing a very good job representing 82. Not anyone can wear 82.
That's true. That's a fact.
Yeah. So congratulations, John Taylor. Congratulations, Patrick Willis. Who do you think they should put in next year to the Niners Hall of Fame? They haven't put in already.
Oh, God, I wasn't prepared for that one, man.
How about Garrison Hurst? I've been on Garrison Hurst kick all
Garrison
week.
Yeah, Garrison Hurst definitely deserves to be
on the
there.
Team for 7 years. He missed 2 years and came back and was good when he came back.
Well, if Gore retires, I mean, that'll be the obvious one.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the obvious. But Garrison
last year was Bryant Young, I think.
Yes, it was Bryant Young, but they're going to unveil it this year because they weren't able to do that or the NFC Championship banner, so they're going to do both of those at home games this year. It sounds like Garrison Hurst. Jack Hammer said that he thought prime Garrison Hearst was better than Frank Gore. So we'd have to look at that 98 season versus 2006.
Yeah, both great years, man. I think Gore's numbers were better. Jack gave Garrison Hearst the nod for having a big playoff game, which is a fair point. I think they're comparable. I almost feel like their running styles were similar. Hearst was a little bit bigger, but man, they were really good. They were so good, both of them.
I'll never forget Garrison Hearst, that 96-yard run against the Jets.
Yeah.
The walk-off. And I said it earlier, if he doesn't get hurt in that Falcons game, the Falcons team that upset the great Vikings to go to the Super Bowl and lost to Denver eventually, the 49ers beat that Falcons team. Now, who knows what happens in the NFC Championship game against the Vikings, because that team is explosive.
The Vikings should have won that game, right?
They should have. Absolutely. Well, their kicker hadn't missed any. Yeah, Gary Anderson hadn't missed all season, and then there you go.
That team was 15-1 too. I believe it was Denny Green, and the offensive coordinator was Brian Billick.
Yep,
which is why people thought he was a genius.
Yep.
Nothing against Brian Billick. I've interviewed Brian Billick. He's a nice guy. I was about to slander him. No, Brian Billick, definitely a genius. Absolutely a genius.
He had some really good players on that team. Really good players.
All right, last bit of news, the last topic of the day. This is what I think Niner fans were waiting for. The jerseys.
Yeah.
They've been using the white 94 throwbacks. Now they're going to wear the red 94 throwbacks. How do you feel about this?
I love it. I've been waiting for them for a while because nobody wants a white jersey. It gets too dirty. You're going to spend $100 on a jersey and then wear it like 3 times before you've got like a nacho stain on it or something. No, I mean, I love it. And what I love most about it is it's the team's 75th year. They're commemorating that. So they're bringing back the patch like they wore in 1994. So clean.
Was the patch they wore in 94, was it what did it say? 75?
It was a 75 for the 75th NFL anniversary. Yes.
Right.
So they're bringing back that same jersey with the 75 on it as well. And it's to commemorate their 75th anniversary as a team. So it's actually really cool. Really, really cool.
Okay, here's why I don't like it. And I didn't like the white ones either. That team won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
They won the Super Bowl. And I feel like the fact that the Niners keep wearing these throwbacks is like they keep trying to say that like we're great too. Like, no, you're not. You haven't earned it yet. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like the way the whole Patriots, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick thing is to not talk about it. You just put in your work and then you win the Super Bowl and then you do it again. But this team's like, we want to look like champions. You got to dress like champions to feel like champions. All right, man, I guess. But that team in 94 was really freaking good. And you guys better play like that too, because they set the bar really high.
People sleep on that those 94.
Jerseys and playing whack.
No, definitely not. In fact, Jerry Rice looked cleaner in that jersey, the way he wore it with the Red Sox, than Jimmy G. What is Jimmy doing with the all white socks? Ugh, that's so gross, man.
He says he thinks they want to sell more jerseys. Yeah, look, if you guys wear the 94 throwbacks, that's cool. But if the Niners wear the 94 throwbacks, they better stomp whatever team they're playing that day. Otherwise, losing in that jersey is unacceptable. Unless you lose to the Philadelphia Eagles and you score 8 points exactly, and it's week 2. Otherwise, you can't lose.
There's a lot of think about that though. So every time the 49ers start off their season in Detroit, they won a Super Bowl. That's happened twice. This is the 3rd time. The last time they went to the Super Bowl was 2019. That's when they unveiled the 94 white throwback jerseys. Now they're unveiling the 94 red throwback jerseys with the 75 patch. And the last time they had a home game was with fans was 2019 against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. And their first home game is against none other than Green Bay Packers. So just a lot of things. Just throwing them out there.
A lot of things. It's going to look good. I like the red jersey better. That was my first year becoming a Niner fan was 94. The first year I remember. So it's going to make me feel kind of strange. Nostalgia is a hell of a thing, right? It's like,
yeah, it is.
94 wasn't necessarily a great year. I don't know what I did in 94, but when it's 25 years ago, it's like, man, that was the best year ever. Everything worked and made sense in 94. And if we could just recapture a bit of it, I would be happier. Yeah. And it's like the same thing happened 10 years ago when they changed their jerseys back to the 80s version. It's like, man, 25 years have passed. I like that. So, yeah.
Rams Reloaded. I see you in the chat pretty regularly. Thank you for supporting Grant. I'm sure he appreciates it. I'm the one guy that says your team's going to finish last in that division. So let's debate it.
Yeah, man. You got a lot of dead cap, a lot of problems in that roster that's being glossed over by the fact that we have a few good teams.
No depth. Your left tackle's older than our kicker. Your left tackle's older than our kicker, and you have no depth. Literally no depth. If you guys lose any key piece throughout a war of a season that's 17 games,
that's right.
You're dead in the water because you have nobody coming in to replace him.
That's right.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
You guys better stay healthy because if you don't stay healthy, you're going to finish last in that division.
Yeah.
Greg doesn't care. He's like, look at my new camera. This is so cool.
I love it. I'm so excited. It's really just upgraded my entire quality of life, man. Look at this.
I'd like to see the computer. I bet it looks so cool.
Yeah, no, it's
does it have like blue keys on
man.
it? No?
Honestly, it was like it's a modest computer that's high on performance, but it doesn't look like I got it in like Mars or something like that. You know, my mom always says when I would get like some like Jordans or something, like some basketball shoes that were real, she'd be like, "Hey, mom, you like my shoes?" She'd be like, "Oh, you look like you could take those to the moon. You could take those to the moon." I was like, I don't think she likes them. So
no.
It doesn't look like you could take this one to the moon, but it's extreme. Like my other one, when I would stream, would like start making noises and it would heat up. It was like a microwave. Like you could cook. This one is just chilling. It's like, well, what else are you trying to do? What else are you trying to? I like it. It's very confident.
How old was that other laptop?
Only 2 years old. The only problem was it was just not made to stream. I got it. My parents gave it to me back when I was really poor, like 2 years ago, and it was before I knew I was going to be a streamer. So it was just my laptop died, and if I didn't have a laptop, I was going to have to I was going to have to just give up and get a job at Little Caesars or something like that. So it got me through 2 years. I built an entire YouTube empire, and now I have a laptop that's fitting. But really, it's all about this Logitech thing right here. It's not even 4K. There could have been 4K, but that was sold out. And I don't really know what people would look. I mean, that's more for like hot tub streams and things like that, right?
Yeah. Which you're doing soon, right? Isn't that debuting? I heard that's coming up soon.
Pretty much. Just waiting for the rubber ducky. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I think it was we did the best we could to talk about the news that came out of a non-news event. Next week, we have something special planned for you, but I don't want to say it because people are going to steal the idea. It's such a good idea. If we say it, people are going to steal it. Seriously. Because people are starving for content. So next week, Jesse and I, really great idea. Stay tuned. Same time, same place. We'll be back. Thanks for watching, everyone. Man, I love this.